A recent poll of Power for All partners showed that the top-ranked financial policy that attracted them to and enabled them to operate in different territories is an exemption from import duties, closely followed by exemption from VAT. So what does this mean for market growth and for reaching more homes and businesses with off-grid solar? Well, today we are delighted to have with us Johanna Diecker, Enabling Environment Program Manager of the Global Off-Grid Lighting Association, also known as GOGLA, to learn more. So thank you very much for joining us, Johanna. Now, GOGLA member companies have reached over 100 million people with off-grid solar products and services. So how do low taxes and tariffs impact companies' ability to operate? And ultimately, what is their impact on achieving energy access?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Susie. So our over 82 members are selling products to low-income households, which are very, very price sensitive. The lower companies can really keep the retail prices, the more affordable these life-changing products become to rural households and the more people we can reach as a sector. Just to illustrate, in some cases, taxes account for more than 40% of the retail price. So governments really have a lot of leverage in contributing to keeping prices down. It's not a coincidence that we see the strongest sales in regions and countries that do provide fiscal incentives, such as import duty exemptions or VAT exonerations on these solar electrification products. And the strong pickup of clean and sustainable off-grid solar household solution in turn enables governments to reach their very own electrification targets much, much faster.
Gosh, I didn't actually realise that 40% was the VAT or tariffs in some particular countries. That's huge. And recently, the East African community, which is 6 countries that represent around 135 million unelectrified people, amended its wording around tariff exemptions for off-grid solar products and accessories. I know you've been involved. How do you see that these changes impact on off-grid companies?
Yeah, especially in the EAC region, we have recorded very strong sales and investments over the last years. In fact, most of the businesses start out in this region before exploring other markets. And when you ask companies or investors why that is, they quickly point to the favorable environment, especially the tariff-exempt status of products here. So while many companies are working in these EAC with very promising models, we should never forget that these are still very young companies that are quite vulnerable to any externalities. They just don't have the reserves yet to absorb any kind of shocks. A change in fiscal regulation in this region, therefore, is particularly challenging for the sector, as it is putting a lot of pressure on almost all companies operating on the global market. The cost of goods sold has increased for some of the companies by more than 30%. And as the margins of the companies are already very small anyway, any increase in the cost of goods needs to be passed on to the end user. So the price increase in turn means that fewer households will make the switch away from kerosene lighting towards clean energy solutions. And this challenge is really reinforced by the fact that the sector was not consulted prior to the changes. The tax bills of companies suddenly increased really literally overnight, leaving them no time to prepare for the changes in any way. And on top of that, this new regulation is being applied very inconsistently across the region and varies from custom agent to custom agent, meaning that with every container that our companies are bringing into the region right now, they really don't know what to expect and which level of taxes will be applied. This completely undermines any attempt of our members to plan ahead and develop sound pricing structures that underpin any successful business model. So it is quite challenging indeed.
Yeah, huge uncertainty there, particularly if it's being applied differently across the region. And as part of that, I know there is mention of a change perhaps for accessories that come along with solar products to allow people to benefit from services. And we're at the start of actually what's expected to be a boom in off-grid appliances, as well as solar home systems and lighting, a market that's estimated, I think, from the Global LEAP program at 4.7 billion by 2020, and enabling, therefore, families to benefit from TVs, fridges, fans, irrigation systems, and those kind of products for the first time. What do you think the future of tariffs is as it relates to appliances?
Yeah, indeed, the pace at which technological innovation has happened in the field of appliances is really inspiring. They are designed in a very energy efficient way, allowing households to use these appliances from solar, a clean source of energy. And that's something nobody had anticipated 2 years ago, even. And it has massive impacts on the household as well. The quality of life improves significantly. And via radios and TVs, households can participate in a society like they have not been able before, because they can now access information whenever and wherever they want. But with regards to taxation, a challenge we are facing is that policymakers tend to think of energy in 3 buckets: generation, storage, and consumption. And while there is some agreement among policymakers that generation and storage should be tax exempt, they still tend to levy taxes on the consumption part quite massively. And for our market, that distinction is a complete theoretical exercise. The customers of our members purchase solar home systems to consume electricity, to switch on lights, watch TV, listen to the radio, etc. So the products often come as a set, and if the integrity of the system is not taken into account from a taxation perspective, it has quite significant ramifications on the affordability of the entire product. And we need to take into account as well that these energy efficient appliances are the costliest part of the overall system. So if taxes are levied on the appliances, it drives the cost for the end user disproportionately. And this is even aggravated by the end user financing that is mostly needed when selling those larger systems that come with appliances, as the loan towards households then needs to be much larger, and the payback period usually then needs to be much longer as well.
So it sounds like it really is the case that if a wider look at these appliances isn't taken in respect of this sector, then families that have an opportunity to benefit from these products for the first time won't be able to get the huge uplift to the quality of life and to livelihoods that they could bring. But challenges to tariff exemptions for decentralized solar from governments include concerns around lost revenue, and in some countries, even concerns that lower price imported products could hinder the growth of local manufacturing. So what are your views then on some of those challenges that governments face when making these decisions?
Yeah, I completely understand that governments want to see as much value creation in country as possible. The focus of our members, however, must be on the end user, on their customer, and they need to ensure, it's really their crucial job to ensure that the products are coming in at a good quality and are at the same time affordable. When considering whether manufacturing could take place in target markets, the companies therefore need to ask themselves, would it impact the quality and the end user affordability? And so far, most of the companies did come to the conclusion that the ecosystem in target countries does not yet really allow to compete with China. And China simply has an undisputed comparative advantage when it comes to consumer electronics. It's really hard to compete with that. That being said, it's of course possible that the assessment of companies changes as they grow bigger and achieve economies of scale that might make local assembly more attractive in the future. And then again, fiscal incentives could play a very crucial role in this regard. In the meantime, let's not forget that these companies are already adding so much value for the countries they're operating in. They're providing first-time energy access to millions of households. They're employing thousands of people that in turn pay income taxes. And they attract hundreds of millions of US dollars in investment. So it's really in the interest of governments to see the sector scale up very quickly before pushing for any kind of in-country manufacturing.
Actually, that's a perfect segue into my final question about how we get the sector to scale, and how to make that range of products and services that you mentioned when you're talking about the TVs and the fans and the other technologies, how we make them accessible to low-income customers. So in order to get the sector to scale and to make that range of products and services affordable, what do you feel a best case scenario would look like in respect of taxes and tariffs? And how would that look in other countries with low rates of energy access?
Yeah, I think that countries with low rates of energy access should take an example from countries where we do have very vibrant markets and where we are already reaching millions of households with off-grid solutions. For instance, Kenya. Usually in these successful countries, we do have long-term VAT and tariff exemptions that have been instrumental in helping the sector to develop and then scale. So as long as a country has not reached universal energy access, 0% import tariff and VAT on the entire solar off-grid product should apply.
Absolutely. The importance of fiscal policy and VAT and tariffs going to be integral across those products and services in order to give more people energy access faster and more affordably. So thanks again, Johanna, for spending some time with us today. Really fantastic to get your insights.